If somebody passes you in a Meyers-Manx, they're probably having more fun than you are.
This week on That Car Show, it's our Meyers-Manx pal, Chet Parsons. From the brand's Southern California roots to its modern rebirth as a full-fledged lifestyle company, complete with its own amphibious airline and a cafe at the Petersen Museum. But Chet's story starts earlier, back when Tesla was still a scrappy disruptor and the Model S felt like the future. He's had chapters with other manufacturers too, including a stint at Faraday Future, and even some time spent on a mysterious island with everyone's favorite EV enigma, VinFast. This is a fun one with some great industry insight and a few surprises along the way. It's Chet Parsons, and it's That Car Show.
Welcome back to this week's episode of That Car Show. I'm Lindsay, and I'm here with Ryan, and I'm really excited to have my friend Chet Parsons with us this week. Chet describes himself as a full-time automotive idealist and a part-time automotive cynic, which I think is a pretty good balance in the car world. He began his career in the dealership world when he was only 19, and he's built a career out of playing with cars, which, I mean, we all want to do that. He has recently found himself working with one of the most specialized brands in the industry, Meyers-Manx. Along the way, there were exotic cars, EVs, commercial trucks, and that included stints at Faraday Future, VinFast, Bollinger, Vintage Modern, and Tesla, as well as experience at Canepa and Ferrari. All that to say, you know he's got some really good stories, which he is happy to share when he is offered a Negroni or two. And we are so excited to hear some of the stories tonight. I mean, we definitely don't have time to cover all of that, but I'm so excited to hear all about it. Yeah. So welcome to the show, Chet.
Cheers. Thanks. Brought my own Negroni so we can keep going.
Perfect. And everybody has everything they need.
Everything we need.
I feel a little low class here with my Coors Light, just saying, Chet, but it's good to have you on the show.
It's a local thing, Brian.
That's right.
You got to keep up the local flavor.
Yes,
that's
good.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah. What is it? Buy local, drink local, all that.
Yes.
I have my iced tea, but it's in my cool blip shift mug. So there
Looks
you
like
go.
bourbon to me, but
yeah, right. I'm like iced tea, wink, wink. I think that one could argue, Chet, that you are definitely having the most fun in the car world right now with Manx. Like, given, I love watching your Instagram feed because it's like, where's Chet, buggying today? And you've had some pretty amazing experiences. So can you tell us a little bit about kind of your career path, and then we'll get into all the buggies, which is what we all want to talk about.
Car nut since I was a kid. My mother would tell me stories. She was like, you'd be in the back seat of the car and you'd point and look at that Mercedes. And my mother would say, no, you can't tell what it is from here. And I'd be like, it's a Mercedes. And it would go by and it was a Mercedes. And I'd be the smug little kid in the back seat, like, told you. And she was like, how do you do that? So it kind of been like that since the beginning. And always was in a family with cars. The garage in our house was what a lot of people think is reversed, because my dad had the station wagon and my mother had up to 911 turbos in the garage at any given time. So
that's pretty remarkable.
944 turbo, 911 turbo, 911 C4. She had a Boxster for a little while. Then she got into Jeeps and she went off-roading with me. So she was a huge influence on me. And we've done things illegal on the street. I remember being in the car with her when I'm pretty sure this was in her turbo 911. We lived in Memphis at the time. And she was driving us home probably from church. And we were racing on the freeway a guy in a GNX. So this is the household I grew up in. And Dad's station wagon was not just Dad's station wagon. It was an Audi 5000 CS Turbo Quattro wagon with a manual transmission, and also, a fun car to drive. He drove like a grandma, but it was a fun car to drive when he wasn't in it. So that's kind of where I grew up. And through that and through those connections we had, I got called one day by the manager at the Porsche, Audi, Mercedes dealer that we did business with in Memphis. And he said, do you want to come sell cars? And so I started selling cars age 19 at the Porsche Audi dealer in Memphis, Tennessee. And ever since then, with some breaks to go back to school or to oddly drive a FedEx truck for a few years, I've been in the car industry ever since. So we won't say how many years that is, but many.
Nobody's
Yep.
going to do the math.
Nobody's doing math. No.
I feel like there's stories I didn't even know about with the FedEx driver. Like that's got to be quite an experience.
Yeah, that was 2008-ish, and the market had just gone to complete crap. Especially, I was working for a dealer in Houston that was mostly like pre-owned exotics and classics, and we saw Ferrari 360s and Gallardos that had been over MSRP cars at one time tanking. I mean, $10,000-$20,000 losses in 6 months on cars. It was a good time to get out. It was a good time to take a break from the industry and kind of clear my head, and had kind of gotten tired of little dealers and little things, and that's kind of what my career had been up to that. And so in 2008, I started applying at Tesla because it was new, it was the thing. I met George Blankenship at the Tesla gallery opening in Houston, and he's famously did the Apple stores, created that retail program, the Microsoft stores, and then the original Tesla galleries were all part of his plan. And had a great chat with him, decided I needed to go work for this company. And eventually I did. That was 2013, was there until 2018 running service operations for them in Dallas, which was a huge delivery center. And, it was fraught with all kinds of crazy things of like, why do you need more than one entrance into this service department? No, we leased you a building that has this massive storage space in the back where you could put cars. Great. We moved in, and the garage door to that back area was sheetrocked over. And we're like, what happened to this area? It's like, oh, we couldn't put sprinklers in yet, so you don't get it. So it was fun.
Did someone say growing pains? Yeah.
It was, 5 years in, that company was still acting like a startup. Revolving door at upper management. It was interesting. I'm glad I was there. And, people always ask me, it's like, oh, do you hate Tesla now? Do you hate? I'm like, not a fan of Elon, never was. Always thought he was kind of questionable. But I was really more just disappointed because they were so successful, and yet they could have done more and could have done better if they'd gotten a certain someone's ego out of the way when it came to insisting on things like Falcon wing doors. And anyway, you get the idea.
So much promise.
That was so much promise and so little delivered, even though so much was delivered at the same time. So I left Tesla when I moved to California. I was in Texas for a long time, and like I said, moved to LA for personal reasons, and Tesla didn't really make it easy for me to try to find something out here. So I ended up at Faraday Future, which was another experience all in and of itself. A company that I can't fathom how they are still in business, how they still exist. Lots of questionable things going on there. Sean O'Kane did a big piece, an ongoing piece for The Verge when he was still there, documenting all the crazy stuff that was going on, and houses in other people's names, and people who didn't have visas that should have been. I mean, we had somebody come in who was a head of department, had come from a cell phone manufacturer, brought in his deck and had the whole company-wide meeting, all hands, sitting in this big conference room in Gardena, California. And he pulls up the slides. And he's like, I didn't have time to do new slides. So he pulls up all the slides and they say Huawei on them. I'm like, oh my God, we're literally using Huawei's slides for your presentation. And I'm guessing you didn't make these, which if he had, it might have been the guy who did the worst PowerPoint presentation I've ever seen, which was at Faraday Future. I'm sorry if they're listening, but they had, I still have it somewhere. I actually saved it because it was just the worst. And I was like, here's an example of how not to do. Yeah, here's an example of how not to do. I went in and took over that position at Faraday Future. And that guy got moved into something else. So it was,
sounds like
that was
better
interesting.
allocation of resources.
Yeah. And then they allocated all their money to things that we don't know where it went. They burned through $800 million, like $100 million a month in the 9 months that I was there. Ran out of money, furloughed a bunch of people, put a bunch of people on a cap salary, and then gave us an option to take furlough or the cap salary. And I was just like, bye.
You're like, I will do neither of these things.
I will not take a capped salary. I'll take furlough and keep my benefits while I search for another job. Yeah.
What those things drive like, Chet?
Couldn't tell you. Never drove one. Okay. Rode in one. Yeah. It was a big, fast electric car, but the interior was, hodgepodge. Mm-hmm. It was a neat idea in 2016 2017 or 2014 or whatever when they originally designed it. When I was there, it was about a 5-year-old design. And I think they didn't change much. I think they actually decontented it a little bit from what it was supposed to have originally by the time they actually produced the car in 2024, I think it was. So neat design, cool looking, had some promise. They ran Pikes Peak with it. There, again, a lot of promise, a lot of cool things. They had some great engineering talent. They had some really neat tech ideas, but the execution wasn't there. And we'll just say the financial acumen was questionable.
Could have done with a little more.
A little more
Better,
sensible handling of the funding. Yeah. So
I'm just thinking man, imagine if you had access to $800 million. I feel like I could have stretched it more than 9 months.
You'd think.
I mean, one would think.
I mean, they may have just stretched it into other things like houses and cars and things for executives. I'm not saying that's what happened, but there's articles out there that allege what happened. So it was interesting. So that was kind of my first real EV startup, and kind of saw how that world worked and saw how crazy it was. And so then I stayed in it and went into another company and went through the EV startup pain again, and then went back to one, and then got out a little bit in 2023 and got to the resto mod world, which is also chaos, as we were discussing before we started.
Right. Well, and that was where we actually met.
Yeah.
That was where we met in person, was when you were with Vintage Modern, because I got to drive one of their cars. It was one of the demonstrators, I think, that you had.
Yeah, that was the first demo that we had. Neat idea, and they're still going strong. I left on great terms with those guys, still friends, nothing. It was just, I was there to do a project and I did it, and then I left, and they're still making modern Broncos. And it's funny, I was watching a video the other day with Jay Leno in Fuzzy's garage, Gabriel Iglesias' garage, and you could see his Vintage Modern in the background. It's like, hey, that's his Vintage Modern. I know what color that is. I remember when he ordered that.
That's cool.
Yeah, so it's pretty interesting. It was fun, and having access to those was a blast. When we did Car Week, we had 3 of them, and we were cruising around. We got more attention than just about anything. We could be parked in a lot, and 5 Bugattis could go by, and they'd be like, "Yeah, those are cool, but did you see this pink Bronco?"
Yeah,
right.
Because we had one that was going to one of our first clients here in LA, and she let us bring it to the Car Week and show it and drive it and get some really good content with it. And we met up with a guy who had the full car rig. He had a drone. We did things. We went towards Big Sur, and we went over the Canyon Bridge.
Yeah.
And we got it to where we had the whole bridge, no cars on either end, 3 Broncos rolling across. We got the drone footage. We go to lunch. He's showing us the footage. He's like, "This is great." Ghosted us after lunch. We never heard from him, never saw any of the footage, never asked for payment. He spent 5-6 hours with us that day. All the footage, we don't know if it's gone. We don't know. We've never seen it. It's not like he did anything else with it. I don't know if he lost it and just didn't want to tell us. His hard drive crashed. But yeah, he had a Mustang set up with this great camera rig, and we're like, that looks like the guy that did our stuff in Florida. And he's like, "Oh yeah, this is what I modeled it after." We're like, "This is great." We were doing all kinds of fun. It kills me that we lost all that footage, because it was some amazing, driving up and down Highway 1 towards Big Sur with, we had a green Bronco, a purple one, and a pink one. And they were all kind of different flavors. Like one had chrome wheels, one had black wheels, one had white wheels, like white interior on one, black interior on, or like a dark brown interior on one, and then like a Sao. Great looking trio of cars.
Yeah.
Great opportunity for photos. And then we never saw it.
That's hysterical. Do we know if he's still with us? Like maybe that's why you never
apparently
heard.
He was still posting stuff, and one of the guys that was working with us was reaching out and talking to his friends on Instagram. He's like, "Hey, have you heard from so and so?" And he's like, "Yeah, he's still doing stuff. I don't know what happened."
Yeah, wow.
Never heard back from him. It was absolutely crazy.
The automotive photographer version of Weekend at Bernie's. They're like, "Yeah, he's totally fine.
He's totally fine."
Yeah.
I want to ask if that's
he's doing really well in jail.
Yeah. I mean, stranger things have happened. I wanted to ask if that's the weirdest thing that's ever happened to you working in the industry, but I have a feeling it's probably far from it.
That's child's play.
I mean, weird stuff is not there was VinFast. I should be careful how much I say about this, but VinFast was hands down the most extreme experiences I ever had, just because of how they operated and my particular scenario. Um, so I was at VinFast. I was the head of sales operations and product planning for them in 2022, I guess it was. And so they were launching in the US. My goal was to build sales operations and be able to do direct to consumer deliveries. We built lease programs. We did all kinds of stuff. And we were killing it for what we were given and the resources that we had, which were limited, to say the best. And so I don't know, I'm probably 6 months in, 4 months into this job. Things are going well. The CEO for the US likes me and was congratulatory. And they kept doing these trips where they would fly influencers, vendors, suppliers, and like team for rewards over to Vietnam. And the parent company of VinFast is called Vin Group. They own an island off the coast of Nha Trang.
As one
And
does.
on this island is like the Vietnamese version of Disneyland. So they have a theme park, multiple hotels, golf courses. There's a big shopping mall. The tram was being redone and you have to get there by boat. And once you go in, it's like facial recognition for everything. It's all looped in, no cars on the island. And it is a wild experience. You fly in this little airport, you drive up to this small city, and then you get on a boat and you go to this Vietnamese Disneyland. And you stay at one of the hotels. They closed one of the hotels for this event. So I'm going to this event the second time around, I think it was. And at the last minute, they're like, you're going to come to this trip with us. It's like, sure, I'd love to go to Vietnam. This would be fun. And I didn't have anybody specific that I was entertaining. I didn't have a vendor, didn't have a supplier. They're like, come support Fleet, come support these guys, meet some of the production people. This is great. I get over there. They have the hotel closed down for us. Everything is comped. You can get massages. You can do this. They take us out on cruises in Ha Long Bay. They do all these things and have us going all around, spend some time in Hanoi, going to dinner with some of the vendors and the production team. It was super interesting. And while I'm there, like the second day, and I'm sitting at lunch at the factory, and I get an email from somebody in Vin Group, and they're like, we want you to come to Vietnam for the Vin 29 celebration. So Vin Group does an annual celebration where people who have performed well get to go as a reward. I apparently had performed well, or I was just the only one left in the US who would go. But the catch was that I was supposed to be there 1 week after I got home from this trip. So I was just like, this is crazy. But I was like, yeah, I'd love to go, but I can't really. So I run into my equivalent, the woman who's my equivalent in Vietnam, kind of my counterpart over there at lunch. She sits me down, we're chatting, and then she was like, are you going to come back for Vin 29? I was like, I kind of need to go home. I don't have, I wasn't planning on staying for 3 weeks or much less. And she's like, we should just stay through. And I'm like, it's 3 weeks. And while we're doing that kind of surreptitiously, she's texting her good friend, who is the CEO of the US, of VinFast US, who then comes down from the restaurant upstairs and sits down with us. And she asks the same question. It's like, well, it's my wife's birthday next week, and I kind of need to be home for that. So this is middle of July. And she just looks at me. She's like, well, what if we gave your wife a trip to Vietnam for her birthday? I was like, I mean, sure, if that can be done. And like got approval from the chairman of Vin Group to fly Hallie over to Vietnam, flew her over business class, treated her better than anybody else had been treated at this point. She gets a car from the airport, all these things, like everything's great. They bring her over. She's there for Vin 29. So I stay the week in between. I'm working in the office. I'm doing laundry at the hotel. I'm staying in different hotels and moving around because they're closing hotels to get them ready for this big event. All kinds of crazy stuff going on.
This is hysterical.
And I'm thinking this whole time that I'm there to be groomed for promotion. Like I've done well, like things are going well, like they need more leadership in the US. And that was still, I guess, a possibility, but nothing really happened. And, without going into too much detail, Vin 29, that starts. And I've got all these events to go to and dinners and things like that. And I'm pretty well just completely told, oh, your wife can't come to these. Like, oh, these are employee only things. She's not allowed to participate. She can come watch some of the team building exercises I'll get to later.
Good times.
But she could only go to one dinner with me.
So they brought her over to be with you, and then they were like, just kidding, she's also not invited.
she had the best time because there were two other employees that I worked with, my counterpart and her, like next in line, and Tracy and Haley, when my wife's name is Hallie, Tracy and Haley took my wife everywhere. They went into Nha Trang. They ate local food. They were doing all kinds of stuff. They went to the Disneyland theme park and rode the rides and went to the botanical gardens and did all the things while I'm sitting in these crazy conferences. Some of them are like 2 hours long. We're getting translated into earpieces live from somebody who's like, dial into this Teams call and so is going to translate into this so you can hear in your earbuds. And so we're in this meetings about the craziest stuff because things that would not fly in the US.
Yeah.
Like punitive penalties for not performing. And when I say punitive, I mean financial penalties.
Oh, wow.
If you don't meet your KPIs, they'll dock your pay. You didn't hit this number? Great. That's 10% off your next paycheck. And enforcing these things and like talking about how this is such a great way to do people getting up and giving testimony about how that worked. And it made them realize why they'd missed their KPI and they did it the next time. People saying, I didn't feel like this was right. So I paid the penalty for my employee. And then when it happened again, I didn't. It's just like, so I'm sitting in that stuff. She's going and having crazy lunch in like downtown Nha Trang. So we had some fun times. Like we got to go eat local food with people who were local because you go in a place, no pictures on the menu, everything's written in Vietnamese because Nha Trang's a smaller city than Hanoi. So it's more rural, it's more traditional. And we had a great time. She had a great time. And there were more stories about their drinking habits and other things that happened too that I won't go into, but offline, if you want crazy stories, that's the tip of the iceberg. And I came home and I was just like, I don't want to work for this company anymore.
Yeah, it sounds like a cult.
Oh,
did you sign a billion-year contract or anything while you were there?
Oh, no.
Or come knocking
Brian,
5 years from now?
They have a theme song. Vin Group has a theme song that the employees all have to learn. There used to be a video on YouTube. I can't find it anymore. I don't know if it changed, got pulled down, or just moved. But they have a theme song. And
so
all the employees would go to this. It was kind of ridiculous. And the first morning of this event, they have us all go up to the office building, which is up on a hill on this ledge looking over the water. Beautiful view. And it's just a big concrete courtyard in front of this, what they called the Pink Palace, because it was a model of the building in Hanoi that's called the White Palace. But this one was pink, obviously.
Yeah, makes sense.
They had us line up in rows by the teams that we were with, or by our department, by our company, whatever it was. And we all had to be in matching uniforms. Wow. Their company colors are like bright red, burgundy, and yellow.
That sounds aesthetically pleasing.
There were people walking around with hats and who's like, oh, where's your hat? Where's your hat? Oh, here's a hat for you. Here's a hat for you. Lined up. Security detail marches in step with the flag, raises the flag. The flag has the little things to blow it so it flutters in the wind, singing the theme song, and everybody knows the theme song.
Wait, so was there a dance? Like, please tell me there's a dance.
There kind of is. There was a talent show as part of this event. Like, there's a theater on the island where they did a talent show. The talent show involved some people lip syncing too. I mean, it was, it's wild. Well, the theme for the event was called Conquer the World. Like that was the theme for Vin 29.
Well, and when you were talking about like you take a boat to the island and it's all facial recognition, like at which point did you get to see the dinosaurs? I'm like, and then we get to tour the lab.
Islands are just a bad idea in 2026. Let me tell you.
I got to tour the factory, and there was some Jurassic technology happening in the factory, which kind of made me worry about how all these cars were getting built. It was interesting. For as much high tech as there was also some things that were just like running off an Excel spreadsheet. So it was just,
Despite all this, they couldn't win in the States.
Right.
I mean, they're still trying. They still claim that they're going to build a factory in North Carolina.
That's right. They were at the LA Auto Show last year, weren't they?
Yep.
Porsche wasn't, but
Right, but VinFast was.
VinFast was.
Yeah. Make it make sense. I know.
Yeah.
No, every now and then I see a VinFast on the road, like one of their cars, and I'm like, there it is. Still, there's the token one.
Yep.
But they're all different colors. I know they're... Like, I'm not seeing the same one over and over. Yeah. That's what's wild.
Yeah. There's a body shop in my neighborhood that specializes in them. So I can walk around the corner and sometimes I'll see 3 of them in the parking lot.
Huh.
crashed, but they'll see through them in the
So
parking lot.
so they work on those Fiskars. What else do they specialize?
I mean, the thing is, you can still go out and buy a new VinFast in the U.S. It's through they scrapped everything that we built for direct to consumer and then went to a dealer model. So they completely switched that up. Yeah.
Wow. Do you remember Daewoo and how they had their business model was selling cars through college students?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that was their business model.
I thought that was weird.
There were. I mean,
wild.
That was very early direct to consumer.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Were they selling them on college campuses? I mean, this is brand new information.
I don't. That's the last person I want to
they
buy
were
a
just
car
like,
from, right?
Yeah, I think they were just enlisting college students and like, here, do you want to make a couple of bucks? Go drive this Daewoo out and sit in a parking lot and try to sell it. Like it was almost like guerrilla marketing.
Yeah.
But with an automobile.
But with an automobile.
Yeah. Every once in a while, I'll see one on the road still, and it's just I have to recalibrate, right, to recognize what that thing is.
Yeah.
But what is happening?
Huh.
That's wild.
So
vintage
that
modern
whole
was like
emerging thing is a whole different thing. Like that's an emerging brand in a market. You think, and we went in thinking this is great. Like we'll be Hyundai in the 70s and 80s. Like we'll be this emerging brand. And we'll come in and undercut the Teslas and things with this car that has more features at a lower cost.
Yeah. And
the corporate, the chairman's marketing team were like, no, we should be competing against Tesla and Mercedes. I'm like, no,
You're like,
we're not.
What if we don't?
Yeah. What if we set our sights at something more realistic? But yeah, reality is not something that was often in the mix with that crew.
Huh.
Yeah, when you were describing your trip, I'm like, haven't we all seen this movie? Wait a minute.
Yeah. My wife tells a different version of it, and like I said, there's some stuff that's not fit for air that I can tell you later that it got darker.
That's for Patreon. That car show after dark.
Yeah, that's a whole that could be a whole episode in and of itself. Like I mean, obviously, you see how much we had on it just this time around, and I've edited a lot.
So fast forward back to the world of reality.
Back to the world of reality
for the last several years. Yeah.
Resto mods are fun, but it's that general market of actual resto mods is tricky to navigate in unless you have something truly different in that market like vintage modern. You don't really have a way to gain anything.
And so for people that aren't familiar with vintage modern cars, can you describe, no one will be surprised that I was excited because it's Bronco related.
Sure. So vintage flips the resto mod model, and instead of taking an old car, restoring it and modifying it, they take a new car and modify it to make it look like a car that was restored. So they take, and this is a brilliant idea, and it worked really well, specifically on the two-door Bronco. It all came together very well. It was executed very well. Like no bad things to say about the product. Had fun driving those. It was so much fun to have those in LA, but it was a new Bronco chassis. So they would buy a new Bronco from the Ford dealer, register it and title it, so it was no longer a new car. We didn't run into any issues there. Rebody it with all new steel bodywork that was made to look like the original 66 to 77. And that body almost fit perfectly. Like it was such a good like dimensionally fit. And the interior was all done up by a company in Europe called Carlex that does crazy leather, and they do G-Wagons and things like that. So it's that level of interior trim, new stereo, better suspension, bespoke wheels and tires, and turned out great. It was beautiful, and the same kind of price as a really good resto mod.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, and I mean the interior, I drove the green one, which had that kind of saddle brown leather, and it was just gorgeous.
Yeah,
like
cool.
beautiful, top quality, absolutely beautiful. And you mentioned the pink one, which I got to see in Monterey that year at Car Week, and it was just, I mean, it was just so fun. Like you couldn't look at it and not smile, and it just brightened your day. So I can imagine, like if you're, going about your day with that car, it definitely would make you smile. And you and I talked about it that day, was that a lot of the demand was people that loved the classic styling, but they wanted the modern safety features because they wanted to be able to take their families in it and not stress about the decades of safety development that have happened in the meantime.
Yeah.
It's the ease of use and it's the accessibility. And a lot of people, a lot of people aren't car people. And I think, it's easy to lose sight of that. And that's where kind of my part-time cynic comes in, is it's easy to lose sight of that. There are people out there who want this car because it's cute or it's pretty or it's just neat. It's something that I want. There's a reason for it other than the technical. I don't care if it's got a V8 or a V12 or a 6 or whatever. They don't know. And they want the joy of driving it and owning it and seeing it and looking at it and being seen in it, but without having to learn new things about how to drive a 67 Bronco, which doesn't drive like a modern car.
Right.
So
the accommodations of the classic. Yeah.
This is like the idea of kind of modern luxury. And this is where we were with vintage, is accessing the joy and the pleasure of driving the thing without having to have the compromise. And as car people, I think we see that compromise as a challenge, and there's fun to it. The manual transmission, the car that's a little harder to start because it's carbureted. Like, these are all like the badge of honor things. It's like, I do these things because they make the enjoyment more visceral for me or whatever it is.
Right.
And
makes it more
there's a
engaging.
lot of people out there who just don't know how to deal with that and don't want to learn, and they just want to enjoy the car. And so that's where resto mods came in, but this took it to another level. And it's a car that nobody's mad at, regardless if they know it costs $300,000 or not. They look at it and they don't care because it's just a thing of happiness. It's a thing of joy, and it kind of sparks that with people, which is transitioning that into the only thing that does that more than a vintage Bronco is a friggin' Meyers-Manx Doom Buggy. This car, the joy that a buggy elicits when people see it going down the road or when they ride in it. And there's still people who it's not for them, which is fine. So many people have a story about a buggy in the 70s, especially living in Southern California.
Right.
And I've had people like honk their horns and flash their lights and wave and dance and sing at me in traffic because I was driving a buggy. And it's every age, gender, race, everybody. And I get kids pointing at me while I'm driving, people taking pictures while I'm driving down the street in any buggy. And it doesn't matter if it's pink, purple, green, gray. People smile at it and love it, and nobody's mad at it unless, sometimes they're old and they're crotchety and they blow smoke when they start. That's why we try to get that out of the way before they get to customers. But that kind of leads to why Meyers-Manx exists the way that it does now. And kind of what I'm doing there, which is, I've come on board to kind of help revitalize sales and prepare for the next generation of Manx, which is the remastered classics, which are what we sell currently. We started delivering these last year. And these are turnkey cars with a body that looks just like the original Manx, because we got the original molds from Bruce Myers before he passed away. He sold the company to our group and gave us all the molds, everything that he had. We took those original molds, took those original bodies, 3D scanned them, figured out where they could be improved, because they were all done by hand. They were all designed by sight and by feel by Bruce. And they're pretty close. Like, they're actually pretty good, all things considered. But then we took them, we put them into CAD. We started fixing things on them. The tolerances are better. They're more symmetrical. The tolerances and the thickness of the fiberglass is better because the modern fiberglass technology, laying fiberglass is more precise now. We've done a couple of things. We added a trunk that you can lock and little things that make it more functional. But at the end of the day, these are stronger, stiffer bodies that are more accurate, the better tolerances. They fit the chassis better. We use completely restored Volkswagen chassis, just like Bruce did, but we go much further with those. They're fully seam welded, powder coated. The two-seater buggies, no doors. The two-seater buggies are shortened by 14 inches, and then they get new floor pans. They're all welded. They're powder coated. They look brand new. We've got a rack of them sitting in the shop. The four-door. God, it's getting late. The four-seater is a the four-seater is a standard Beetle wheelbase, and same thing, fully restored. But the new body goes on top of that. A brand new crate motor. Still, the standard motor, still a VW flat 4 crate motor. We tweak them a little bit, a little more displacement. little more power, a couple of carbs if you want it. And then we can go crazy with it, which is a whole nother thing. But, they're all manual transmission. They're all traditional buggies. They have a little top that's standard, but otherwise you're completely exposed to the elements. But you can do fun things with them. And we've had a lot of people who've bought them who are also Porsche people, Ferrari people. And
I was going to ask,
they like
what
the
are they
idea
cross shopping?
I mean, a boat, a motorcycle, another house, whatever. It could be, a vacation place in Cabo. Who knows? It's not. There's not a direct comparison car.
Sure, right.
But we get a lot of people who have personalized them, and we can do all of that. We've got designers in house who have the experience to do that. So if you want fancy leather, better seats, you want German square weave carpet and a canvas top, we can do that. We can do paint to sample. We can do all kinds of fun stuff with the gel coats. So you can have a very customized Manx that is, down to a personalized shift knob if you want.
I was going to say, I think we all are familiar with the hot dog shift knob that has probably gotten the most notoriety on Matt Farah's.
Can we go back to the beginning? Because I don't know if everyone listening, knows Meyers-Manx and the history and sort of, the genesis and Bruce Meyers and what a part of Southern Colorado, very much not. Southern California automotive and surf culture and this kind of thing. Because when you think of a dune buggy, when you think of, and that's maybe a bit of a misnomer, right? Or beach buggy, this is that. That iconic form.
Yeah, it really is. And he didn't know what he had created. He just wanted something that was simpler and easier because he was seeing guys build these crazy tube frame things with small blocks and Porsche engines and VW engines in them and driving them around. And he was just like, I don't need all that. I just want something to bounce around on the sand and put my surfboards on, get down to the boat, do whatever. And realized very quickly like how he could make that happen. So Bruce was an artist and a surfer and a poet and a boat builder. Like he had the skills because of these other things that he did to draw and design and to kind of have that creative feel for what this was going to be, and figured out how like easy it would be to take this fiberglass, tub and then bolt the VW engine and suspension to it. And you've got a super lightweight, plenty of power because the Volkswagen engine's made to move more. And it achieved what he wanted to. And, famously, you see him jumping it on the cover of the magazine. And it did that. And he evolved it and made it better and stiffer and ended up using the whole VW chassis at one point. And it took off and people wanted them. So he started offering the bodies and made the kits and people could buy them and make their own, never intending to be, anything big, and didn't protect himself. So he didn't know to go, patent his IP and do that. And so it became the most copied design in the automotive history. So this is the most copied car ever made is in Meyers-Manx. So there were so many clones of dune buggies, and some of them were flimsy. You could just, bend the bodies and break things. And they didn't have the design kind of elegance that Bruce's buggy did.
Right.
Down to the fact that, historically, and this is kind of a neat little fact, is to tell if it's a real Manx or not, the one trick is put your beer on the front fender. Set it flat on the front fender. If it slides off, that's not a real Manx. If it stays flat, then chances are it's a real Manx, because he made it so that while he was working in his shop and fixing his surfboard or painting, he could reach around and put his beer on the fender and it wouldn't fall off.
That's fantastic.
Attention to
So if you see us
detail.
if you see us in an event and we're taking a margarita and putting it on the fender, it's made for that. It's
Right
not.
on.
We didn't have too many margaritas.
Right.
So
Listen,
yeah,
we're
so
working.
he's he created this thing. It created that phenomenon because it was so easy. It was so accessible. It was so much fun. And this is in 1964 that he did this. So really kind of at the right time, and everybody wanted that freedom and that ability to get around. And the Beetle was cheap. The buggies were not expensive to build. You could build it in your garage, even if you weren't that mechanically inclined. The motors and everything people could work on, and you could hot rod them. So it really touches beach culture, surf culture, hot rod culture, VW culture. It had a lot of the early ones that people were building. 356s weren't precious like they are now. So there are a lot of the early buggies that had 356 motors in them.
Yeah.
So that was a big piece of it.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
crazy to think that, they were disposable cars at that
Yeah.
point. Get a rusty 356 and like, I'll put that motor in my dune buggy.
Yeah.
We've
Right.
done
You're
that
like,
too,
what am
to
I
a
going to do
different
with
degree.
this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
We should give a shout out to our friend Bassem Wassef, of course, who literally wrote the book on the history of the company.
Literally wrote
it's
the
a
book.
Fantastic, it's a tome. It's a coffee table book. It's
the first thing I did when I started started working with Meyers-Manx last year was acquire my own copy of said book and have Bassem come by to sign it.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Study it.
I had to barter with him a little bit. We got him some extra books for himself too, but it's great to have that and to kind of have that documented, because it is such a big part of the history, and it touches on like I said, so many parts of California culture and California car culture, both. So and the fact that we still build them in Costa Mesa, miles away from where Bruce's original shop was. I think it's a storage unit now or something, but
if I may, so what was sort of the demise of the original, incarnation of the company, and then where did we get from there to where we are today?
Bruce never tried to make it a big company. It doesn't seem like it wasn't his goal with it. He wanted to make them for himself and his friends and build them. And then people started copying him, and he couldn't keep up. He wasn't building them cheaply. It was, and then I think also things happened in the market and in the economy and things that just, it wasn't as common to do that anymore. But there's still a very loyal Manx owners group in Southern California, all over the world, really. So it just eventually just kind of fizzled out into probably the 80s, but Bruce was still selling kits into the 80s or 90s.
Really?
And he kept the business name and everything alive. And every now and then I think he would do a run of bodies or do enough to keep the brand going. But he was also getting up into his 80s by the time our owner, or the owner of our company, Philip Seraphim, who's a big car guy in his own right, Philip and Freeman Thomas, who's our designer, and also very well known in his own right, they approached Bruce. Freeman had known him, had met him before, and so they approached him knowing that he was looking for a way to preserve the brand. And he liked what we were going to offer and what we were going to do with it. And he was like, this is great. I like you guys. I want you to have it. And did that. And sadly, he passed away a couple of years later. This was in 2019, 2020. So we kind of started the business in 2020. But when I met Freeman and Philip in 2019 was when they were acquiring the brand. And so that's where it is now. And we started off selling kits and parts. But we were getting people who wanted us to build full cars. And so we were experimenting with that, playing with that. And we still have some of the first remastered cars that we built, being able to redesign it and do, the body, remaster the body. It's still the original design, and create this. And then people are like, I just want one. I want to turn the key and go. I just want to have it and be able to go enjoy it. I don't want to have to go through building this in my garage. I don't have the time. I don't have the inclination, but I want to enjoy it. And so that's where we are now, is the people who are really interested in this and really want this as that car and have the luxury of being able to afford it and have the place to use it. They want it the way they want it. They want it built, and they want to turn the key and drive it and enjoy it. And so that's the market that we're fulfilling now.
I got to take one of the remastered original ones out with Freeman a couple years ago, and he was showing me of the updated touches. And one of the things I really liked is the panel in the back, and it's functions as a storage space. But then if you need to work on the engine, like if you've taken it out in the dunes and something happens, this panel comes off and you can access the engine without having to get under the car. So I really liked the thoughtfulness of all of the little features that have been added while preserving, obviously, the original design. It's like the best of both worlds. And then he was talking me through the resorter and all of the thoughtfulness that has gone into like the safety and like how are we dispersing the energy, and so people feel comfortable taking their families in them, and they can just go enjoy.
No, it's hard to talk about safety in a car that has no doors and you can literally reach out and touch the road,
like as much as possible, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the resorter has a lot of reinforcements in the body, outside of the body. We did things so that it wasn't a floppy little noodle, And
Yeah.
to drive an original resorter and drive a modern one, you're like, oh, this is very different. And the resorter is very different to the buggy. The two-seater is like a little sports car. It's short wheelbase. It's kind of twitchy. It bounces around. You feel quick and you just kind of want to drive it crazy all the time, which means you're going like 40 miles an hour because it's a dune buggy. You feel like you're going a million when you're going 40. The resorter is like just a little bit more calm and you just want to cruise in it. And it's really more the like, it's a little bit more reserved, if you want to call it that, for a 4-seat open air dune buggy.
Right.
But it's still fun. Like there's still, there's still a level of joy. And, that's the slogan of Smiles for Miles. Like this is what we're all about, is just making people happy, whether you're in it, driving it, or looking at it, or seeing somebody driving it and enjoy it. It's like you see somebody driving one, you just like, that person's having more fun than I am. I don't care what you're driving. If somebody passes you in a Meyers-Manx, they're probably having more fun than you are.
Absolutely. And
for so many different reasons, because it is, you're exposed, you're open air, it's quick feeling, and they are pretty quick. It's a 2-liter motor and a little 2,000 or 1,400-pound buggy. The nice thing for me though is like there's no radio, there's no phone, there's no GPS, which sometimes is tricky if you don't know where you're going. But you put your phone in that trunk in the back, you close it, and just like there's nothing. All you're paying attention to is driving. And when you stop the light, you're looking around and seeing what's there. And usually you're seeing somebody waving at you like, that's so cool. And it's just like, how can you not smile? How can you not enjoy this? It's just, I dare you to drive one and not have fun.
Yeah. It's the opposite of most cars, I guess, right? And that's what makes it so wonderful.
Yeah.
Right. Most modern cars. So you mentioned the two models. There's a two-door, there's the resorter, and then you have different powertrain options. So can you break down sort of what's available right now?
There's the current, what we're currently selling and what's currently available or to order are the classic Manxes. So this is the buggy and the resorter. The buggy being the 2-seater, the resorter being the 4-seater. You can, like I said, build them however you want, all the way up to, in the buggy, you can actually order it with a radial 3-cylinder, 2-liter, like aeromotive power plant that's liquid cooled and fuel injected and has more horsepower and more torque. And it looks ridiculous to have this 3-cylinder thing that looks like an alien poking out of the back of your Manx. But when you drive it and you have this seamless torque, a little more horsepower, a really crazy sound, and it turn the key in and go. You don't have to worry about carburetors. It's like it feels kind of modern. There's a Motec digital dash. Like this is very incongruous to a 60s dune buggy, but at the same time it feels absolutely perfect. And when I finally got the chance to drive one of the radials, I was just like, oh, this is worth the not inexpensive price tag for it. It's just so it just is silly. It's just silly in the best way of just like, this car is too, quicker than it needs to be. It sounds cooler than anything else out there. It looks cool. It functions. It's reliable. The internals are from Chevy LS motors. So like from a GM LS crate motor, like you can take the pistons and rods out and they fit in this 3-cylinder radial engine. It was designed to be repairable by anybody. And we've developed a cooling system for it so that you can drive it on the highway and it can stay cool, and you can drive it in hot temperatures and stop and go traffic. And it's just kind of there. It's just flawless. It's just this great little thing. But then it goes quicker and it's, more fun around corners and things like that. It's just, like I said, it's silly in the best way, kind of going towards that, bringing joy to somebody who's driving it. And, we'll build a lot fewer of those. Most of the buggies are still going to be the VW engines. But the radial is just like our exotic car. Like it's the craziest thing. No, your neighbor's not going to go buy one. Your neighbor's not going to come back after you bought your, SF90 with a 296 and like, I've got a Ferrari too. It's like, no, you don't. Somebody's going to come over and they're like, I bought a Manx with a VW engine because your radial was so cool. It's like you said, it's a hoot to drive. It really fits the character of the buggy. And like you said, I think it's worth every penny of it, and not just because I'm actually in charge of selling them now. But
minor detail.
No, the radial is just the coolest thing. It's not for everybody, and it's like I said, it's it's not inexpensive. It raises the price of a buggy considerably. So, but drive one. We'll get you guys behind the wheel at some point.
Love to.
Yes, please.
Yeah. Well, who's buying these? Like, where are they going? Are they, because they're not just being, people, it's not just Southern Californian people who are buying these, right?
It's a lot in Southern
it's,
California, but
yeah.
we've got clients that are taking them to their properties in Idaho and Montana to drive on the ranch because they're buggies. They're off-road tires.
Right.
We do a King off-road suspension for them that's bespoke for us, so they can handle doing these things. We've raced them in Nora races at Baja. So, and famously Bruce won his class with stock Manx at Baja.
Yeah.
So they're capable little things off road because they don't weigh anything. They got plenty of traction. You got the engine in the back, and they're a hoot for bouncing around fire roads and driving around your property because you can just let's go that way, and you can do it. So we see people buying them for ranches in Texas and Montana and Idaho. We have people buying them because they want to cruise around their beach community in Florida. We're starting to see more interest in Texas. People want to drive them around the Hamptons. The four-seater is really starting to get more attention because people want to be able to take their friends and their kids in it and do things with them. And resto mods were big in the Hamptons. You see a lot of vintage, modern vintage Broncos, Kindreds, and all those things up there. You see those up there, and they're saturated. There's a bunch of them.
Right. This is something
one
different.
notoriously rolled over in East Hampton. It's like this is different, and it's also it's less likely to be like overt and in your face. It's kind of subtle and cute, even though it's still a fun car to drive. It's definitely more approachable.
Well, I think you summed it up well when you said it's silly. It's sort of inherently like it's a silly proposition in the best way possible. And it's like, it knows that. It's sort of like, I know I'm silly, and that's why I'm here to make everyone smile.
When I first started with the company, they sent one over to me to drive because I hadn't driven any of the buggies before, and they sent me a classic. It's called Surf's EP. It's got a license plate, California plate, says Surf's EP.
Love it.
It's got quilted, like diamond quilted white vinyl interior, and the piping on the interior matches the metal flake exterior. Coolest little car. Bulletproof, had been, lovingly driven, restored, maintained. I had that car for a week and a half, 2 weeks. And I was like, what am I going to do with a dune buggy? Like, I'm going to drive it a weekend. I'll go take it somewhere, see what's going on.
Right.
I would find myself in the middle of the day, like working from home. I'm going to go to lunch. I usually eat lunch at home. I'm like, I'm going out for lunch, so I have a reason to drive the buggy. It just makes every little thing more fun without any extra lift. It's like, it's no harder than getting in your car to go out to lunch, but it's more fun than getting in your car to go to lunch. And it kind of makes you want to get in the buggy to go to lunch. Like, I don't necessarily want to go get in my F-150 to go out for lunch, but if I have a buggy in the driveway, I'll find somewhere to go that's further away. It kind of inspires you to do things and to be out and do stuff with it.
Right.
Which is pretty great when you think about it. But yeah, you're standing there, you're like, we have dry cleaning that needs to be picked up, don't we? Or we need
reasons
milk?
It hangs over the bar. I have picked up my dry cleaning in a buggy before.
And then when you get home, it's extra fresh.
Yeah, that's right. So I'm convinced. I want to order one tomorrow. What's the process? What do I do? And how would you spec yours? I guess I'm curious too.
I do a radial with the good suspension, and man, every day I see one that we've built, I'm like, oh, that's cool. Porsche sepia brown paint to sample with like brown leather. I'm like, that's great looking. And then we built one that was we just sold, that was a gunmetal gray with brown seats and a tan top and white wheels and like a wood steering wheel. I'm like, that's kind of up my alley too. We've done some really neat builds. That answer of what I would order was change from day to day.
Change every day.
But the process is, we keep a few cars in inventory, so we have cars to test drive, to take events, to show people, and to sell if somebody's just like, I got to have a buggy tomorrow. And varying colors. Like I got one that's bright green metal flake, looks like a green disco ball with a black interior and black wheels, and it's real sporty looking. We've got one that's the gunmetal one that we just sold, a yellow one with like an off-white vintage GT Porsche seat interior, just like really simple but really elegant looking. If I were building one, it'd definitely be the radial at this point. I love that. The vintage shifter, the vintage GT or the fiber steel seats, like the 356 style seats for sure, just because they're more comfortable for me. The colors, I don't know, like I said, it changes day to day.
Yeah.
But to start the
Well,
order
and there's so many
process,
to choose from.
if we, there's so many to choose from.
Yeah.
If you want one, you call us up and you say, hey, I really
Yeah.
got to have one of these things. If we don't
Yeah.
have one in ready to go that suits your needs, if you're not like, I want that one, then we go through the design process with you. Like our sales team kicks it off. Like, what roughly do you want? Like, what color? We've got these colors and these interiors. Yeah, I like this, but I kind of wanted to do this. I saw one with plaid inserts. Great. Here's a package that you can do that's just got plaid inserts and some other pieces. That's the quick and easy version. Then if you want to go crazy and you're like, no, I want to sit down with the design team and I want to do some really fun stuff. Like, great. Takes longer, costs more, but we can do it. And we spec the car out with you. We have a design team. Our design team has a rendering tool. They'll render it for you so you can see what the whole thing's going to look like. And then we put it in the build queue. And right now, a two-seater buggy is probably about 4 to 6 months out. Resorter,
Okay.
6 to 9 months away from delivery. Radials are be early next year. And then the big news is the other part of the business is Manx 2.0, which is electric.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this has been
It's a handsome
something
little
that's
thing.
building cars is hard. It's the same. The body is this close tolerance wise to being an original. So it's very much, you park them next to each other and they're so close. It's just a more modern, refined version of it. And again, credit to Freeman and his team making this new thing that looks very much like the old one, but just more refined and modern. And electric powertrain, similar power to something like a radial. We're going to do a launch edition. This has been a labor of love, coming for years now, and is finally, we're getting this much closer to production, and hopefully we'll have them in customer hands by the end of the year. Hopefully we'll have something to show at Car Week. Fingers crossed, everything goes well. And we'll have the launch edition cars to show for that. Same premise as the original, lightweight, 2-seat, quick, but not, ridiculous. But finished out in the same way. The launch edition is going to be all available in one of two combinations because we're going to be able to build more of these. So custom will still be on the table once we get started, but for now there'll be two launch editions that are kind of a yin and yang to each other. If you want, red pill, blue pill, green pill, orange pill, whatever. So that's the next step, because that goes one step further to the accessibility. And for people who don't want to worry about servicing their car with carburetors on it, or gassing it up before or when they leave their house in the Hamptons and leave it there over the winter. People who don't drive manual transmissions want an automatic, things like that, where it just kind of opens up our market to people who are inclined, but maybe not so inclined that they want to learn to drive a manual transmission and deal with carbureted engines. So it really opens us up and takes us into that next chapter. And that's why we call it Manx 2.0. So it'll be eventually, a similar process, but for right now, we're about to start kind of reopening the order books for those. So that'll come out later this year, like I said.
People are excited about the brand. You guys are out there, you're doing things, you're doing the Fat Ice Race, you're at Car Week. When I mentioned that you were going to be on the show, Chet, the question I got from a couple people was, tell me about Meyers-Manx Airways, because that is sort of the epitome of cool. Break that down for us. How does that fit into the larger picture? Tell us what that is exactly, because it oozes cool.
So this is purely Philip, who I love him for this, is he has an eye for really good design and things that are elegant industrial design. And so the Albatross plane that we have that is Meyers-Manx Airways, it's just the one airplane that lives in Europe right now. It was something that he picked up early on in the Manx revival to kind of promote the brand and kind of explore the greater Manx lifestyle, which, I used to cringe a little bit when people would say, oh, it's a lifestyle brand. I'm like, we really embody this in a way that nobody else can. Is like, this car was built around a lifestyle. So this is the original lifestyle car. And the Airways kind of takes this to the next level. And it really kind of goes to the bigger picture of even that, is that not everybody has the place to keep a buggy, drive a buggy, own a buggy, or the means to own a buggy. It's not for everybody as far as owning one, but the brand brings so much joy and is so recognizable now when you start to see
Yeah.
a Buggy and as we kind of gain some recognition, people recognize that a Buggy is a Manx and the Manx is the original Buggy.
Yeah.
And so our apparel has blown up because it's a way to get involved with the brand and kind of have that joy and have that in a sweater or shirt. And it sounds kind of cheesy, but it's like I get more compliments on my Meyers-Manx sweater that I was lucky to get from the new collection. It's just a cream sweater with a red Buggy just stitched into it. And it's just the simplest thing. I have people wanting to steal it off of my back because it's such a fun thing. And again, Buggies bring joy. And even on a sweater, a Buggy brings joy. So it's been really fun to see the airways, the merchandise, the apparel, the brand at large. And we have other plans for how to bring people into the brand and enjoy it without having to necessarily own a Buggy, because people in certain markets, if you live in Manhattan, a Buggy is probably not on your radar to have parked in the garage of your building or somewhere, but you might want to go to the Hamptons and drive one. So we've seen opportunities where we can work with resort properties and places to have house cars that are Manxes, especially with the electric, because then the barrier to entry is much lower for maintenance and for people to be able to drive them. So building this out as a bigger brand than just the Buggies is absolutely part of what we're doing. And, we've brought on new people to our team, and we're working in collaboration with people who are specialists in building apparel brands of merchandising, retail, to kind of help us build all the verticals in our brand at one time. So off-road racing, SoCal dune buggies, cool apparel, seaplanes flying through Europe. It's all part of our bigger brand. The airways thing is interesting because, the first time I saw that was well before I ever was involved with the company, but I knew Philip had it, and I had met Philip and Freeman before that. It was at Quail in probably 2020 or 2021. And I was there working. I was there with Bollinger Motors. And midway through the day, you hear this low rumble as that plane did a low flyover of the Quail field. And you just see this thing coming over, and it just kind of trundles because it just kind of like, the way that it moves along with those giant motors and the giant props on it. And it just, you could feel it shake you as it flew over, and it just did this giant sweeping arc flyover. I was like, that's how you do a brand. That's how you show up for your brand, where you can do it. So it was pretty cool to have seen that. And, to know that that's part of our, our brand DNA is just like silly stuff that makes you smile, but it's also functional. You can drive a Manx to work if you want, especially when the weather's nice.
Yeah, just ask.
You'll just show up. You're going to show up windblown and look a little suntan, but everybody will be jealous. So
your little sun-kissed cheeks. I know. I would say Philip is definitely the master of sort of having notable, fun vehicles that put a smile on people's faces, like with the VW bus that has been at Quail and was at Airwater, and even the bus, like they're just so cute, and that plus the Manx and then the plane, it's. Like you can't not smile.
The beach chairs, parking the buggies in the bunker. It's just you can't do that. You can't do those things with other brands and have them take you seriously. And that's the thing, is we can be a little silly and have a lot of fun, and people can still take us seriously.
Yes, and
we back it up with good quality stuff. Like these buggies are amazing. The way that they're built and handcrafted. We are when we're looking to other brands of benchmarks for how we're going to build these, how we're going to produce them. We went and toured Singer Vehicle Design. We're going to go tour Icon. We're looking at those brands as the benchmarks in this. But what we're going to be delivering is that level of, hopefully we can aspire to this, that level of quality and build and personalization at a fraction of the cost. So, Singer Vehicle Designs, Porsches are not cheap. They make ours look very reasonable by comparison. We're the tender to the Singer yacht. And it's interesting.
Yeah.
One of the last buggies that we sold last month went to a gentleman who showed up at our Costa Mesa facility just kind of out of the blue one day, and I happened to be there, and I saw him and I saw what he was driving, and it was just like, that's an Icon Bronco. And he pulls up and I see it says Icon on the side, and I was like, it was beautiful, it's a great color combination, beautiful finish. And he hops out and he's like, yeah, this is I built this with Jonathan, and told me all about it. And he's like, I really wanted one of these blue buggies I saw online. And he ended up buying one of the blue remasters that we had in stock, and he drives it back and forth to work in San Diego area. And so it has that same kind of ethos and the same kind of, it attracts the same kind of buyer. When you ask that question about who buys these, it's the same kind of people who have that attention to design. And it's very much like Philip is our demographic. When we talk about him, he's the kind of person that appreciates these things, and he'll show up in a buggy and drive from his house in Beverly Hills to our shop in Costa Mesa for lunch. It's like, that's a long drive.
Fantastic.
It's a long drive in a car, much less in a buggy. He's like, it was a nice day. He's like, I wanted to drive the buggy down PCH. I was like, God bless you. Like, that's great.
Yeah.
And this is who I work for. It's like, this is why this job is fun.
That's right.
Well, and I think that's something Philip is known for, and he does sort of, live the lifestyle. Like, he's sort of an example of it himself, because he has, the wedge cars, and he drives those.
Yes,
all these things that a lot of other people would put them away. He is like out exercising them, living, to the fullest, and sort of setting the example of like, here's how I want the brand to be viewed, and I'm putting my money where my mouth is. So it's pretty fun.
He bought
to see.
a plane for goodness sake. I mean, it's
right.
He is very committed to this brand, and that's and again, one of the reasons when I came on board is like, I know that he's committed to this. We can be realistic and tell him what we need to do and what the the day-to-day, the reality of the business, because it is a startup. It is building cars is hard. I will say that for eternity, and this is again part of that idealist cynic kind of balance. Is not an easy thing to do. Building one prototype, designing and building a prototype is hard. Iterating that and making 100 of them, 1,000 of them, 10,000 of them, even harder. And so where we are now is because he has been willing to really, put his weight behind this and commit to it. And the people that are here, the people that are working for this company, get that, and that's why we're here. Is like, we're committed to it too. Like, nobody's here just because I'm not here because I needed a job. This was not I need a new job, I'm going to go work for this dune buggy company. This is a job because I'm passionate about automobiles. I'm passionate about these things. And as I've gotten older, it's been kind of hard to find that thing that still really makes me smile and doesn't have any negative connotations to it. And, this is that thing. It's funny that I found it. And like vintage was kind of that same way. It's like, there's nothing, there's no downside here. Like, there's no negative, except that it's expensive to do, and it's hard, and it's a challenge to make that business work. And so that's what we're doing now, is we're putting everything we've got into this to make sure that it's successful and we deliver that level of product so that people can come in, turn the key, and go and enjoy it.
We all need a little more silly in our lives these days, especially, I think.
Liz, I think the word is jaunty. That's the word that comes to mind when I think of Meyers-Manx.
A jaunty buggy.
We need more of that in this world.
Yeah, it makes you, and I think you described it well, Chet. Like, and I was thinking back to when I was driving the one with Freeman, and it's a really good, it makes you be present in the moment, which I think we don't have a lot of opportunities for that because of our phones and all the connectedness. But yeah, I mean, the combination of the open air manual, and just the design, and seeing other drivers around you react to it, you kind of go like, this is a pretty special moment. I mean, I remember driving it and just going like, Freeman Thomas is next to me, and I'm driving a restored Meyers-Manx buggy in the sunshine. Like,
come on, that's a Tuesday for you, Lindsay. Stop,
But it's, I will tell you, like, one of the best drives I did was, we had an event at the Motoring Club over on the west side of LA, and it was a test drive event, and I had one of the buggies at my house on the east side of Burbank, and the event started at 8 a.m. So I needed to be there at 7 a.m. It was a little chilly, not gonna lie. But I got in the buggy, fired it up here quietly in the street so I didn't wake up my wife, and I stay off the highways with it just because it's less pleasant. I went all the way across the valley on Ventura, the Sepulveda, up over the Sepulveda Pass, The sun was just coming up. It was a little misty. It was a little cool. Didn't see another car the whole way.
Wow.
And like, if I'd been in a Porsche or an M car or an exotic car, I would have been lost a little bit because I would have been driving too hard. I would have been like, "Ooh, let's go fast," because there's nobody in my way. Where in the Buggy, I could go a little faster and still have a hoot and not feel like when I got there, like, oh, thank God, I'm coming down off this adrenaline rush. It was just like this, like perfect level of serotonin, just like this is happy. It's just like I got there and I got to the test drive and I was like, that was amazing. I'm gonna go have a coffee now. Like it was just no stress, no nothing. And you'd think that driving a car with no doors and no roof would, beat you up. And it's like now you kind of get out like relaxed and refreshed. Sometimes, after a long day, it's getting in and out. It's for older guys like me, it's not necessarily.
A little more gymnastics.
Hey, be careful.
I've gotten more flexible getting into these, like especially with the soft top on. You kind of have to do some some gymnastics.
Chet's incorporated more yoga and Pilates to his life.
Just getting in and out of buggies. That's it.
Purely another benefit, right?
Exactly. It keeps you healthy, keeps you young.
That's right.
Takes the years right off.
Well, but I think that's a perfect description of the drive. It's just sort of like it set you up for the event. It like started your day on the most, delightful note. And then you're like ready to go for the rest of the day. So I love it.
Yeah. So for those listening who want to buy one,
very lucky.
I'm
very, very lucky to have this job and to have access to this. And it is amazing. So
you're living the dream, but I feel like you sort of paid your dues, a couple chapters in your past.
There's been some sketchy minutes of existence that, I wasn't quite sure what the next thing would be, but no, this is, I'm happy I'm here now where I am and at this time in my life. This is what I need right now. And it's, like I said, I'm working with people I know and it's an enjoyable experience. And the people I've gotten to know since I started here in the company, customers, people who are just friends of the brands that we work with. We did a collaboration with Cherry in Los Angeles last year, and they invited us to a Cars and Coffee this year. And so we went, and it was almost a Manx takeover of their Cars and Coffee. We had like 10 Manxes that showed up. We brought 4, and then people just showed up in their own. And so it was really fun to have that and have that support and have that familiarity with the brand. I think we're going to be doing an event with Deus, I believe. I don't know if that's public yet. We haven't really formally announced it. I think I'm meeting tomorrow to finalize the details. I'll let you know if the meeting goes south tomorrow. So that's just another like a Cars and Coffee type event that we're going to do with them, because there's a really similar vibe between motorcycles. And again, motorcycle crowd loves us. The hot rod crowd loves us. Like everybody has some connection to Manx in a positive way.
Yeah, when you have that much history, you get a lot of different appeal. A more universal appeal for sure.
Mm-hmm. It's fun, and it speaks a lot to the car, I think, to the guys that run the Treasure State show, which is, for those who don't know, is a curated, very exclusive, not in a snooty way, but just in we want the coolest cars, and we know the people that have them and are willing to bring them. And we get invited to that to bring buggies. And the last Treasure State event was at the Greystone Mansion in Beverly Hills. And you can't, the only people that could park on the property were people who were invited to show and display, and other people that were spectators would park on the street. We were shuttling them from the street up the driveway in resorters the whole day.
I love it.
Back and forth. And we had a couple of cars there. Philip brought out the Steve McQueen Thomas Crown Affair Meyers-Manx dune buggy that he has in his collection. And so we fit there, but then we can go to Deus and hang out with the motorcycle hipsters in Venice. It's great. It's like it's appealing across all demographics.
Totally.
So it's really fun to be in a brand like that where everybody's friendly.
Exactly.
I think if you want to get a taste of the brand, of the flavor of Meyers-Manx, go to the Petersen Museum, go to the Meyers-Manx Cafe, which
nice
is
plug. Thank you.
Probably the most well curated space I've ever eaten a breakfast burrito in. It's got like this vintage Macintosh stereo. I think there's even the playlist is curated, right? There's some famous DJ who programs the audio. Yeah. It's just this wonderful space, especially after you've spent the day in the museum to make a pit stop, no pun intended. It's just a great space, but it's sort of I don't know. It's Meyers-Manx in a,
it's very on
defined space, right?
Yeah, it's very on brand for us, but it speaks to the level of quality that is the expectation of our brand. Like we're not going to make a cheap t-shirt. We're not going to make a cheap sweater, and we're not going to make a cheap buggy. It's not what we're doing. And our cafe is going to serve good food, and the pricing's actually pretty reasonable. We knew who we were serving at the museum, and we didn't want to exclude people. We wanted people to come enjoy it, so we made sure that what was curated for the restaurant on a menu was accessible. Again, just like the buggy. Like, this is not an exotic car that costs hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's an accessible, fun car that doesn't cost much more than an average, mid-sized luxury SUV. Yeah. The cafe is curated in that same way. The decor, the design, the Manx that's sitting out on the patio. So you get that same feel, and the staff there is amazing. We do pop-ups with them at Petersen events. The Petersen staff is great for us. They really enjoy the brand. Like, Dan's been super helpful. I see Dan a lot, so we see him frequently. We talk to him a lot about doing events with the Petersen. I definitely do.
He's on assignment
tonight. We're right in each
other's
backyard. On assignment tonight. I was just glad he didn't ask you guys to play me into to play me into Counting Crows. I'm glad he didn't put that out there before I got on the show.
You do know Dan.
Right? No,
we've had that conversation
from
before.
That.
I still want to hear that VinFast song.
I feel like I had to give him that shout out.
Got some Googling to do after this.
If I can ever find that link, I'll send it to you guys.
Amazing.
That would be amazing. I feel like we have obviously barely scratched the surface of your stories, but we want to be, cognizant of everybody's time tonight. So for now, tell people where they can find you online so they can follow along with your Manx adventures.
Yeah. Meyers-Manx.com gets you into everything, and at Meyers-Manx on Instagram. We have a great creative director who keeps our social full of the fun and the joy that we experience. We keep a buggy where he and I can access it, so that anytime we have somebody who is worthy of taking for a ride, which is a lot of people, we're pretty free with our ride giving.
You're very generous.
We go out and we capture it, because capturing somebody experiencing that joy. So shout out to Hagup for curating that as well. But Meyers-Manx.com, at Meyers-Manx on Instagram, you'll see us out and about. Feel free to say hi to me.
And then what's your Instagram? Because you have a good time too.
If we really want that out there, I am just WCPFOUR, WCP4. So my full name, which we won't say on air.
No. Well, thank you for joining us and being so generous with your stories. I've really enjoyed kind of the peek behind the curtain to all these different brands, and you've had quite a career, and we're so excited to see where you are now and watch as Manx develops. So everybody, please remember to like and subscribe and tell your enthusiast friends about us. And remember, always be driving, and we will see you next week.
Thanks, Chet.
Thanks, guys.